Metaphysics, Ontology, and Epistemology. The Gnostic-Illuminati promotes eumystical ideas, which are designed to appeal to mystics, while also promoting a respect for non-mystical rationality, and a concomitant disdain for irrationality and mysticism. The majority of human beings are essentially mystical, so making ideas appeal to mystics is useful as a means of popularizing them. These eumysticisms contain ideas intended to counteract other more harmful mysticisms, and often entail the positive portrayal of rationality, and the negative portrayal of irrationality. In order to create such eumystical ideas, and to have them maintain mutual consistency with one another, the Gnostic-Illuminati teaches a set of common fundamental eumystical philosophical principles upon which to base these ideas. These foundational principles are found in Metaphysics and Ontology, which deal with certain fundamental aspects of reality, and in Epistemology, which deals with methods for deriving accurate information from reality. In ancient times, these foundational eumystical principles were largely created by Socrates, and then developed even further by Plato, under acousmatikoi influence. Socrates and Plato were both mystics, and hence actually believed their own mysticisms. Neither were ever inducted into the mathematikoi, of course, as membership required completely non-mystical thinking, just as is required by the Scio-Illuminati today. Plato was eventually actually expelled from the acousmatikoi, for exposing some of the so-called secrets of the acousmatikoi. In reality, however, the acousmatikoi members were tested by being entrusted with secrets as a means of testing their trustworthiness. These so-called secrets actually consisted of eumysticisms, however, the exposure of which would be essentially harmless or even beneficial to the brotherhood. Plato failed the test of secrecy, and while he was then necessarily expelled from the acousmatikoi for his betrayal of secrecy, his exposure of these eumysticisms actually proved somewhat beneficial to the mission of the Pythagorean Brotherhood. To this day, philosophers still talk about the Platonic realm of ideal forms. This is the idea that there exists a higher realm than the physical world in which we collectively find ourselves, and that this physical world is in some ways actually illusory and unreal. This higher realm is conceived as being the true reality, and as being the source of such things as logic and mathematics, as well as such ideals as good, beauty, truth, and so on. In this Platonic system, each human being has an immortal soul, with origins in this higher realm, and which repeatedly returns to that realm and then reincarnates. Certain elements of what is commonly considered learning, is actually more like remembering the ideal realm, or even having direct mental perception of it. Over the centuries, the acousmatikoi, the Gnostic-Illuminati, has further developed this into a very sophisticated metaphysical, ontological, and epistemological system. The mathematikoi, the Scio-Illuminati, has never adopted such a view. Our view, which we have held since the time of Pythagoras himself, is well illustrated by the following rather long quote from the Protocols of Psionics, in a section titled Empiricism, Rationalism, and Empirico-Rationalism. Empirical evidence is the evidence of sensory or perceptual experience. Epistemological empiricism is any doctrine which holds that empirical evidence is the proper means for acquiring truth and knowledge, and for forming and evaluating concepts and beliefs. Attempts are sometimes made to discredit the validity or reliability of empiricism. This is typically done by attacks on the ontological status of the physical world, and of the ability of sensory or perceptual experience to provide any level of reliable information about actual reality. These attacks may hold that it is possible that the apparent reality of the physical world is actually a simulation, or a dream, or the like. They may also hold that, even if the physical world is real in the conventional sense, human senses and perceptions are still fallible and error-prone, in a way that the absolute certainty of pure logic is not. The problem with all such attacks is that there is no model of reality which provides greater explanatory value than the simple and self-evident proposition that the physical world is real in the conventional sense, and that our senses and perceptions are generally reliable for deriving information about the physical world, and that these senses can be vastly augmented by scientific instruments. Any alternative to this simple and self-evident proposition is more complex, and not self-evident, so what is the advantage or justification for taking on such a view? There is none, if one wishes the truth. There is no advantage or justification for adopting a more complex explanation for something, when a simpler one has greater or equal explanatory value. There is no advantage or justification for adopting a non-self-evident explanation for something, when a simpler one has greater or equal explanatory value. The only so-called advantage would be the advantage of confusing the issue, which is only helpful when attempting to prop up nonsensical ideas and a mystical worldview, while obscuring or denying reality. The ontological stance that the physical world is real is simpler and more self-evident than the alternatives, and has greater or equal explanatory value. This is the ontological position of psionics regarding physical reality, and it is the ontological position upon which the epistemological position of empiricism is based and validated. Unlike fideism or intuitionism, and despite the attacks of those who would deny the reality of the physical world, or the reliability of the senses, empiricism actually has great reliability as an epistemological approach. The evidence of one's immediate perceptual experience is nearly impossible to doubt. If one wants to know what the weather is outside, for example, one does not employ some mystical spiritual faith or intuition. Instead, one can merely step outside, and one's senses serve as all the evidence one needs. As human beings, however, we often deal with things which are beyond our immediate perceptual experience. Stepping outside may be a flawless method for determining the weather right here, right now, but it may be a poor method for predicting tomorrow's weather. When it is necessary to operate beyond the range of our immediate perceptual experience, we must integrate the information we already have, to create new information. In other words, we must reason. Rationalism is any doctrine which holds that reason is the proper means for acquiring truth and knowledge, and for forming and evaluating concepts and beliefs. Reason is very powerful, but it is of limited use for determining certain things about reality, in the absence of empirical evidence. Without the evidence of empirical experience, reason is merely logical speculation. When properly used as a means for integrating empirical knowledge, on the other hand, reason becomes a powerful survival tool of the human mind. Thus, neither empiricism nor rationalism is sufficient alone as an epistemological approach for human beings, but must be used in conjunction with one another. Furthermore, due to the inherently limited nature of human perceptual and reasoning abilities, empiricism and rationalism must be skeptically applied. This requires the testing and retesting of beliefs which may unknowingly be based upon erroneous or incomplete observations or reasoning. This skeptically applied integration of empiricism and rationalism is identified by psionics as empirico-rationalism. Empirico-rationalism is the creation of models of the world, beliefs, based upon actual empirical observations. Empiricism, using valid, logical reasoning, rationalism, and then testing these models to see if they actually hold up under scrutiny. Skepticism. Empirico-rationalism is the epistemological approach of psionics philosophy, and the epistemological approach of science. Scientific knowledge is very different in nature from mystical beliefs. Scientific knowledge is never considered absolute, i.e., never considered to be conclusively true, beyond doubt and unquestionable. Scientific ideas are always subject to further testing. This is in marked contrast to false, mystical absolutisms, the acceptance of things unproven and unprovable, which are clung to by mystics as being true beyond doubt or question, and the rejection of things of proven reliability which the mystic refuses to accept. Scientific knowledge is measured in terms of its reliability and predictive power, and this standard of reality-based reliability propels the further advancement of knowledge and power. Mystical beliefs are essentially measured in terms of their conformity with the mystic's personal faith, feelings, intuitions, etc., and this adherence to invalid epistemological approaches stunts the advancement of reality-based knowledge. The ultimate price of mystical beliefs is ignorance, unhappiness, and impotence. The ultimate reward for reality-based thinking is understanding, happiness, and power. The Scio-Illuminati holds exactly the view described above, and in fact urge all who are interested in non-mystical understanding and enlightenment, to read the protocols of psionics for themselves. The information it contains is absolutely essential. Thank you for watching. Please help spread our message by liking and sharing this video, and by subscribing to our channel. Please also visit and register on our website, Scio-Illuminati.com. Support our revolution, and join us in the growing light of knowledge and liberty.